Have you ever stopped to think about how many decisions you make every day without even realizing it? Many of them are habits, automatic behaviors that shape your life. What would you say if I told you that by understanding how these habits work, you can reprogram your routine to achieve your goals? Let's explore together the fascinating world of habits, discover what's behind them, and learn how we can transform them to improve our lives. Imagine your habits are like trails in a forest. Some are well marked, while others are overgrown. What we need to do is explore these trails, understand each step that led us there, and if necessary, create new paths. In this video, we'll discuss the habit loop, the neuroscience behind it, how to identify bad habits, and most importantly, how to replace them with habits that lead to a more fulfilling and satisfying life. To begin, it's essential to understand what we call the habit loop. This concept consists of three parts: the cue, the routine, and the reward. The cue is the trigger that initiates the behavior. It can be something simple, like your phone alarm ringing, reminding you it's time to wake up. The routine is the action you perform in response to the cue. For example, getting out of bed and having a coffee. Finally, the reward is what you gain at the end of the process, which could be the taste of warm coffee or the feeling of being awake and ready for the day. If you look at your habits, you'll see that many of them follow this loop. But what happens when this cycle is negative? Imagine that after a stressful day, you feel the cue of exhaustion and decide to eat a sweet treat. The routine is eating the sweet, and the reward is the momentary feeling of pleasure. However, this reward can have undesirable consequences, such as guilt and weight gain. Understanding this loop is the first step to reprogramming your routine. By identifying the cue that triggers a negative habit, you can work on the routine, replacing it with healthier behavior, and adjusting the reward so that it is also gratifying. Let's consider a more specific example. Think of someone who has the habit of smoking when they feel stressed. The cue might be a stressful situation at work. The routine is smoking a cigarette, and the reward is the feeling of relief, even if temporary. Now imagine that this person decides to replace the cigarette with a quick exercise, like a 5-minute walk. The cue remains the same. The new routine offers the reward of an endorphin boost, which brings a sense of well-being. This example illustrates how small changes can have a significant impact. It's about finding alternatives that offer healthier and more lasting rewards. Now let's delve a little deeper into neuroscience. Habits are formed in the brain through a process called automation, which occurs in the basal ganglia. These ganglia are responsible for controlling movements and habits. When we repeat an action, our brain conserves energy by automating the process. This is incredible, but it can also be a problem when the habits that become automatic are not beneficial. The good news is that our brain has the capacity to change, a phenomenon known as neuroplasticity. This means that, yes, we can learn new habits and leave behind those that no longer serve us. This process of change requires practice, patience, and above all, a clear understanding of how the habit loop works. To illustrate neuroplasticity, imagine a child learning to ride a bike. In the early days, it's a challenging process, full of falls and frustrations. But as they practice, the brain starts to create new neural connections. Over time, riding a bike becomes automatic, a skill that can be performed without thinking. This same capacity is available to us as adults. When you decide to change a habit, you are essentially reprogramming your brain, creating new neural pathways that can become automatic with repetition. So, even if it seems difficult at first, persistence is key. One of the biggest challenges in changing habits is identifying bad habits. Often, we are so used to them that we don't even realize that certain actions are not beneficial. Therefore, the first step is self-observation. Start recording your daily habits. How about grabbing a notebook and writing down when you perform certain actions? This can include everything from what you eat to how much time you spend on social media. Also, ask yourself questions. What triggers these habits? What are the cues? And what rewards are you seeking? By delving into this analysis, you will begin to see patterns that were previously hidden. This self-reflection is essential to understanding what needs to be changed. A useful tool for self-observation is a habit journal. In it, you can write down not only the actions, but also how you felt before and after performing them. This can help you identify the feelings that drive certain behaviors. For example, if you notice that you tend to eat compulsively when you feel anxious, this is a clear sign that the habit is linked to an emotion. Another technique is mindfulness meditation. This practice helps to increase awareness of your thoughts and feelings, allowing you to identify the cues that trigger your habits. By becoming more aware, you gain more control over your actions. Now that you know how to identify your bad habits, let's talk about how to change them. Here are some practical strategies. First, use the habit loop model. When you identify a cue, ask yourself, what routine can I substitute here? If the cue is the urge to eat a sweet, the routine could be drinking water or eating a piece of fruit. The reward can be the same feeling of pleasure, but without the negative consequences. Sometimes, the routine itself needs to be changed. If you always feel tired at the end of the day and end up resorting to watching television, how about creating a new routine, such as taking a walk or reading a book? These activities are not only healthier, but also provide rewards that can become enjoyable. You can change your environment. If you want to avoid eating treats, don't have them in the house. Creating an environment that promotes healthy habits is crucial. By adjusting the cues, you make change easier. When you change a habit, it's important that the new routine also brings satisfaction. If you're trying to stop eating sweets, look for rewards that are healthy and still enjoyable, like a tasty tea or a walk in the park. To illustrate these strategies, imagine you want to stop procrastinating and start studying for an exam. Cue might be the feeling that the exam is approaching. Your current routine might be browsing social media instead of studying. To change this, you could transform the routine into just 5 minutes of studying, with a reward of watching a fun video afterward. This small change can help create a new positive cycle. Another example is the habit of exercising. If your cue is the afternoon time, you can plan a light walk after work. Over time, this activity can become an enjoyable routine that you look forward to. Another important aspect of forming new habits is willpower. We often believe that willpower is an infinite resource. However, science shows us that it can be depleted. Therefore, it's important to understand that we need to take care of our willpower. This can include ensuring you get quality sleep, eat well, and engage in physical activity. Also, a technique that can help is setting small, achievable goals. When you achieve a small goal, the feeling of accomplishment can motivate you to continue. And remember, changing habits is a gradual process. Don't blame yourself for slip-ups. They are part of the learning process. An effective way to strengthen willpower is to use the mental preparation technique. Before facing a challenge, visualize yourself overcoming it. This practice not only improves confidence, but also creates an internal commitment. Another tip is the small victory technique. Celebrate each small step forward. Instead of waiting until you reach a big goal, acknowledge and celebrate the small achievements along the way. This helps maintain motivation. Now let's talk about keystone habits. These are habits that have a domino effect on other areas of life. For example, regular exercise not only improves physical health, but also increases energy, improves mood, and can lead to healthier eating. Identifying and cultivating keystone habits can be a great driver of change. Think about which habits could be your keystone habits. They don't have to be big. Sometimes small changes can yield big results. It could be something as simple as drinking more water or meditating for a few minutes a day. A classic example of a keystone habit is making your bed when you wake up. This small action can create a sense of accomplishment first thing in the morning, which translates into greater productivity throughout the day. By making your bed, you establish a pattern of organization that can extend to other areas of your life. Another example is keeping a journal. This practice not only helps organize your thoughts, but can also increase your self-awareness and promote greater emotional understanding. By reflecting on your day, you can identify behavior patterns and adjust your routines accordingly. It's crucial to understand that changing habits is a process that requires consistency and patience. The idea that it only takes 21 days to form a habit is a myth. The truth is that this time can vary greatly from person to person and from habit to habit. It's important to remember that the journey will be full of ups and downs. The secret is to stay committed and be kind to yourself along the way. Each step, however small, is a step towards your goal. When you encounter challenges, remember that patience is a virtue. Every effort counts. If you set out to run 3 times a week, it's natural that some weeks you'll succeed, while others you may not have as much motivation. The important thing is not to give up, but to find ways to motivate yourself and start again. Also, consistency is a powerful ally. Creating a habit calendar can be an effective tool. Mark the days you've met your goals. Over time, you'll see the progress, and this will serve as a visual incentive. Now that we've explored the power of habits and how we can reprogram our routines, I want you to reflect on what you've learned today. How can you apply these concepts to your life? Which habits do you want to change? Which new habits would you like to cultivate? Change begins with a single step, and that step is awareness. By understanding the habit loop, the neuroscience behind it, and the strategies for change, you have the tools you need to transform your life. The mind is a labyrinth, but the way out is in your hands. Every choice you make is an opportunity to create the life you desire. So look at your habits and ask yourself, what can I do today to get closer to my ideal self? The answer may be closer than you think.